Now, one of the biggest pushes in the reconstruction and recovery plan is to open up the energy sector to increase electricity supply. Municipalities will be able to source their own power as part of this plan if their finances are in order. The Energy Minister has also gazetted regulations to clear the way for towns and cities to generate their power privately. And of course, we heard from Cape Town earlier this week on the programme, their plans to privatise some of the power. Let's get input from another metro that may qualify. I'm joined now by Mark Wilson, Head of the Energy Department for Ekurhuleni. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Wilson. I'm wondering, why do you want to be independent from Eskom? Is it to perhaps relieve your citizens in Ekurhuleni of load shedding and load reduction?
Yes, it's not entirely a matter of removing ourselves from Eskom, but it is to supplement the load for our growth and to reduce the possible load shedding that is still happening. So, and also to introduce renewable energies onto our grid.
All right, so now Cape Town qualifies as well. They said it's going to take about 4 to 5 years to make it happen. How far along are you with your plans to have part of the power supplied by independent providers?
We're quite a long way further than the city of Cape Town, in that about 2.5 years ago we went out on a public process whereby we called for bids for what we call Ekurhuleni Power Partners. So we have managed to appoint about 47 of what we call power partners, waiting for the suspensive condition of the legislation and the regulations to change, which we are now at. So we are now busy with the power purchase agreement. So probably the quick wins could happen in as little as 1.5 to 2 years.
I mean, that's amazing. So you could have independent power coming into your metro in that time frame.
That is correct. On some of the projects that have shorter lead times, like our landfill gas, we could be online in as little as 1 year to 1.5 years.
All right. So gas is one option. What are the other options? Are you looking at renewables?
We only look at renewables. So there's solar power. We have large available pieces of available land that can't be used for much of anything else due to shallow undermining and dolomite. So solar can be put on those plants. Waste to energy, there's enough waste to generate about 70 megawatts, as well as landfill gas, which is another 10 megawatts. So those are our main sources that we're looking at.
Did you say landfill gas? Is that the methane from the landfills?
That is the methane that all landfills naturally generate, and you have to get rid of it. So normally you just flare it, but in this case you can generate energy.
Oh, that's incredible. So it's a really a useful way of using your garbage, I suppose.
That is correct.
So what about the costs? You know, we've heard so many different things about how much renewables cost, and I would imagine that when you're dealing with a private company, are there any rules about how much power must cost? Are there any regulations, or is it all whatever you manage to negotiate?
Well, at this stage, we went out on according to the Municipal Finance Management Act, and we called for proposals with pricing, and all the prices are offered at a discount to the Eskom megaflets at which we currently buy electricity. So yes, it is at a varying discount prices depending on the technology.
All right, so that's good news potentially for the consumer, but as you explained earlier, of course, you do still get some of your power from Eskom. Are you going to pass some of those cost savings on to your paying consumers, or are you going to use it to pay, to pay for people who don't currently pay for electricity? We know that that's a real problem.
Yes, generally the Energy Department of Ekurhuleni is pretty well performing in terms of revenue and collection. So any savings does go into the greater budget of the city, and in some way or another it will pass back as either reduction in tariffs or increase of services.
Oh, well, keep us posted. It sounds really, really interesting. That was Mark Wilson, Head of the Energy Department for Ekurhuleni. He says they're quite far along the line. Within the next 2 years, they could have independent power producers feeding into their electricity supply.